Yeah, hi, Mike Swanson here. I'm here with Dave Skarica. We're actually in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, but we were just watching the news of this earthquake in Japan that's really got people's attention on TV right now. And you were in an earthquake similar to that last year
actually,
in Chile.
At about this time last year, obviously in February last year, the big, I think it was another 8.9 or 8.8 in Chile. And I had plans to go about 10 days after that, and I decided to go, and the first full day I was there, I experienced two large aftershocks, a 6.6 and a 6.9. Well, the first thing when you experience something like that is this feeling of like helplessness. It's like, I live in the Bahamas or in places like Myrtle Beach. They have, we get hurricanes. When you have a hurricane, you can bunker down and you can see it coming and you prepare for it and you border up your house or whatever. And when you have an earthquake, it just kind of comes out of it.
Well, how long was it lasting? How long did the earthquake last?
That one, the 6.9 probably lasted about 30 seconds. And just the ground is just moving back and forth below you. And
but I bet those 30 seconds seem like minutes.
It's like when you look back in your life, I remember that 30 seconds, like it was 3 hours. Definitely. And I can't imagine what one of these 8.8, 8.9s is like because through friends that I had in Chile, they told me that it essentially just knocked them over. But, obviously the most important thing is the human toll, and there's some problems with some of the nuclear plants. We hope that doesn't get out of control. But what's interesting from an investment point of view is what usually happens is there's an initial downside reaction because obviously the economy comes to a standstill for a while, especially in northern Japan where it hit, that's going to be the case. But then afterwards you have the whole theory of creative destruction where because buildings have been destroyed and ports have been destroyed and roads have been destroyed, you essentially have to rebuild all that stuff, and it becomes almost like a forced stimulus where you have to hire people and whatnot. And I think they talked about the Kyoto earthquake in Japan about, I think it was 95 or 96, and the economy or industrial production there in Japan shrunk about 2% that month, and it bounced back 2% the following month. And Chile, since the earthquake of March of 2010, or February 2010, has been one of the best performing markets in the world. Partly, it's a natural resource.
Well, what happened there after the earthquake?
Well, essentially,
the
stock market's gone up like crazy. It's probably up 50 to 60% in the last year. Part of it, they're a natural resource-based economy, so copper prices and all these things going up has helped them. But part of it is a city called Valparaiso in Chile essentially was wiped out, heavy damage, and they had to rebuild a lot of that, so that created a lot of industrial demand in the country. So what's interesting is I'm long-term bullish in Japan. I think Japan is where the United States was in 1982, that it's a 20-year bear market, and valuations are very cheap, and you're at the bottom of a secular move, and in a way, a perverse way, this earthquake may be something to help kickstart, some economic activity that otherwise might not have happened. So I would look at it is if in the coming weeks you see weakness in Japan, in Japanese stocks, for example, Honda had to shut down 4 of the 5 plants in Japan on the news of this. I would use that as a real buying opportunity here going forward.
Well, going forward, how can people find out, what you're doing with the stocks in Japan or emerging markets?
So we have actually we have 2 things. Number 1, I have a free list on Addicted to Profit, so you can sign up for that. Number 2, we have a deal through each other that if you buy a copy of my book, The Great Super Cycle, which talks about economic cycles and markets like in longer term perspectives, like I'm talking about Japan, this 20-year bear market, you get a 3-month trial free to my newsletter. And so you sign up for that, and the book only costs $20 roughly on Amazon and or $30 at retails at bookstores, and you get a 3-month trial, and 3 months is about $100 worth of newsletters. And on top of that, we have a couple of bonus letters I add on to my own newsletter that you get with the trial. So sign up for the trial, and you'll get that. You'll get that.
Yeah, and we'll be talking to y'all later.
Take care.
No, that's good.